Hello, is my audio working? Hey, can you hear me? So hello everyone. I see a couple people are popping in. We're gonna go ahead and get started after a couple more minutes. I think a few more people will be joining us. So if everyone can hang tight for a couple minutes. Around 8 o'clock, we'll switch over. Most of this session is gonna be screen sharing. But for now, before we get started, if you have any specific questions about event setup, event management, and NationBuilder that you would like me to cover during the session, feel free to type them into the chat or just shout out questions that you have and I'll note them down to include that in the presentation.
Hello.
Hey, how are you?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
Pretty good. Do you have any topics, questions that you want us to tackle on the session tonight?
Well, I'm pretty new to NationBuilder, and by that I mean entirely new.
Okay.
So I'm here to observe, and then if I have any questions, I'll be sure to ask them. Is there kind of a time you're setting aside for that, or is it kind of just whenever?
So I'm going to be screen sharing for most of the session, but I kind of have a list of topics to run through. So I'll take a pause in between each one as I'm going over different features. So if people have any questions, they can definitely feel free to ask then, or I'll keep an eye on the chat window throughout. So if I'm going over something and question pops into anyone's head, they can definitely feel free to throw it in the chat window, and I can
Cool.
spot them there as well.
Sounds good.
And just out of curiosity, what chapter are you with?
Chicago. I'm Phil.
Got it.
And yeah, and I'm the new membership operations co-chair. And so, what's your name again?
Jeff.
Jeff, I've heard lots of good things about you.
If you're new, you will get lots of emails from me about NationBuilder and different other things, but definitely welcome.
All right, sounds good. I might hide my video a couple times just to attend something, but I'll stay on the phone.
Sure, no worries. All right, I'm going to give it a couple more minutes and then jump in. Since we're recording, I'll definitely be able to send this out to everyone afterwards as well.
Cool. Jeff, what chapter are you a part of?
YNPN New Jersey.
Oh, very cool. Are you from the New Jersey area?
I am. I have actually lived in New Jersey my entire life. I have not escaped yet, so we'll see if a change is in order. But for now, yeah, I've been here for a while.
Okay, very cool. I'm familiar with your airport.
Wonderful Newark International or Newark Liberty.
Newark International. I'm from Buffalo, New York, and so I've flown into Newark to visit some friends in New York City, Long Island.
Cool. I would get Newark. It's not bad as far as airports go. It's not quite as bad. I like to say the worst is LaGuardia. But I hear they're finally updating it. But Newark's due for some updates as well.
I look forward to seeing those LaGuardia updates in 2035.
Yeah, they've been saying that for about 30 years now. They'll get around to it eventually.
I'm kind of spoiled. I try to fly out of Midway most of the time, but sometimes O'Hare is unavoidable, and it's not so bad. It's just gargantuan.
Yeah, I don't. No, I've been to Chicago. I flew through O'Hare once, but I'm always reminded when I fly around the country how much nicer other airports are compared to the ones we have in the Northeast. All right. Cool. So I am going to switch over to screen sharing mode so I can get started. And then I guess as people join us, I'll keep an eye out and welcome them. But I'll just go ahead and start going through the session. So I'm going to switch over to screen sharing so you can all see my screen.
Cool.
All right, so hopefully now everyone can see a screenshot of my desktop, and I'm gonna open up Windows so you can all see the back end of NationBuilder. So tonight's Program XChange is gonna focus on event management in NationBuilder. So I know this is something we got a lot of questions from chapters about during this year's conference and the year before that about some of the features. I know some chapters have used outside event planning platforms, so Eventbrite, a couple others to sell tickets and manage some of the events they hold. So I'm going to try and give an overview of all the different features that NationBuilder has available for event management, including selling tickets and just some common settings for events that your chapter might be hosting. So the screen that you should be able to see right now is just the general menu under the website submenu in the NationBuilder dashboard. So it just has a list of all of the pages for YNPN New Jersey's website for any events that you plan. If your chapter doesn't already have one, you're going to want to create a calendar page. So when you're looking at all the pages for your website under this menu in NationBuilder, there will be a column that tells you the type of page that it is. So most pages that you design will be basic because they'll just have content. You won't necessarily need them to do anything special. But for events, you want to create a calendar page if you don't already have one in NationBuilder. Just going to open up a new page, show you where you could find that. So there's an option to create a new page if you don't already have one of these created. And if you click, on the new page option, you get 2 fields where you can name the page and kind of describe what NationBuilder calls a slug. It's really just like the web address. So if you wanted to name it your chapter domain / calendar or events, that's what you would put here. And then under type of page, you would just pick calendar, and you'll see it gives you a description. So the calendar page will have a listing of all of your upcoming events. You could, if your chapter was inclined to do so, allow users to submit events. So if your chapter wanted members to be able to create meetups, you would be able to allow that option. Obviously there you might want to have some guidelines, and just think carefully about that, because once you give them that power, kind of anyone who's a member or a user can go ahead and create events. So that's something you could think through. Searching for nearby events. So if you're having a ton of events, you can have a search feature. And if you want to do a little bit of customizing, you can use Google Maps with NationBuilder to create kind of an overview of where different events would be happening in your city or chapter's area. So once you create that calendar page, what will happen is your calendar page will be created. And the first page that you will see is actually the settings for that calendar page. So this is the settings for the current YNPN New Jersey calendar page. So whatever I named it, that web address will be located here. A couple things that would be important to think about are, if your chapter has a NationBuilder site, this might be a page that you wanted included in your main menu for your users. So if I click over, you'll see that it's marked off for the New Jersey website, and our page name is upcoming events. So because I have that option selected, if you are on our main website, that page is listed in the very top menu for members to easily find. If you do have a calendars page, it's probably something you want to feature. So that is a good option to check off for your calendar page. So I'm just going to switch back over. Let's get there. Okay, so back on the settings for the calendar page, pretty basic. The other important one is, generally you'd probably want this available to the public, but if you did want to create kind of 2 separate calendars or have a separate calendar page for members only events, you could create multiple calendar pages, and at the bottom right of the settings page for your calendar page, you have an option to set who can view this page. So ours is set to be public, so anyone who's on our website can kind of view the calendar page. You could set it so that people would have to be logged in, so they'd need a user account with an email and a password to be able to view this. Or if you wanted to create something kind of private and exclusive for your members, you could set it so that only the people who are marked as members in your NationBuilder database would be able to see a particular calendar if you wanted to feature members only events. So
hey, Jeff,
yes.
I have a question. It's
Yep.
Ani from Chicago. For those settings for that, anyone can view this page. Could you have like a user group of board members and then have kind of like an internal calendar that only board members could see?
You absolutely can. So the final 2 are settings for everyone who's an admin. So everyone who has like full access to your NationBuilder backend. But you could also create, if all of your board members kind of have some type of access to your NationBuilder backend. So your members generally won't, or supporters generally won't. But you could create a separate calendar just for what they call control panel users. So as long as you mark off all of your board members as control panel users on this setting, they would be the only ones who would be able to view this page and get access. So if you did want to use NationBuilder for something like creating a board or committee specific calendar, as long as you give those people the right type of access and have them marked off in NationBuilder, you could do some interesting things with internal calendars too. And it wouldn't be visible to anyone else kind of casually browsing your site.
Cool, thanks.
Yep, no problem. Very good question. I hadn't thought about that, but board members might find that to be a useful tool for committees and different things like that. So this is the general settings page. I'm going to click over to the calendar settings page, which has a little bit more specific things that you can take a look at. So NationBuilder has an origin. It's a popular political tool. So by default, an event is called an event, but because a lot of campaigns use it, you can specify that your events have a certain name. So you can call them rallies or canvases if you did want to customize it. You can also choose to only include events in a particular calendar with a specific tag. If you did want to filter some things out or have those be more private and only have certain things included. And then you can elect to show a map of all of your events. So you can write a general greeting or message that'll display for people who view your calendar page. So you can see here, YNPN New Jersey, we just have kind of a general overview of what types of events we include so that people who come to the page don't just see kind of the events listed. There's a brief greeting and that displays right at top. I'll go over to the actual calendar page in a second so you can see what that looks like. So if you wanted some type of greeting or to feature a particular video or link, you could enter that information here and have that always be displayed for anyone who comes to visit your calendar page. So I'll just click over to event settings. So if you do want to kind of customize and do some additional kind of personalized settings for events on a particular calendar page that are going to apply globally. So if you wanted every event under your calendar page to tag people with a certain tag in NationBuilder when they RSVP'd or when you mark them as someone who attended an event, you can do that here. You want to be careful with this because this will apply to any event that you create. You have the same option for when you create your own individual events one by one. So we haven't clicked this off just because sometimes we use different tags for different events. But if you did have an idea that you wanted to tag literally everyone who interacts with one of your events with a certain tag, you can use this setting here to make sure that applies across the board. So I'm just going to click that back off and then go to the user submitted events, which was mentioned in the description when you create the new page. So if you do want to allow people in your nation to create their own events, so people who have kind of a login and password for your NationBuilder site, you can enable this. So, you know, if you check off allow people to add their own events, now people in your nation can add meetups or different events. I don't know too many chapters that have allowed this just because it does require kind of moderation and it gets up a certain level of control to anyone in your nation to be able to create an event without necessarily, you know, having admin permissions or being able to log into the back end of NationBuilder. But again, since NationBuilder is kind of a very popular tool in political circles, You know, nations might want to allow people to create rallies or their own like impromptu meetup events. So if your chapter kind of might have some use for that, you can check this off. I would just advise kind of your board to think through some guidelines, some rules to give to people if you are going to let them create their own events. You could, if you wanted to kind of limit that, you can specify when you want events to be added, so you can limit that to certain dates. If you can think of a creative way to maybe do campaigns or member-driven dates, and then you can also assign anyone who creates an event to a point person. So people who are registered as admin users in your NationBuilder site mostly are going to be board members or committee members. If you did allow users to create their own event, you could have someone tagged as the point person. So whenever that happens, they get a notification and they're aware of it and can kind of follow up or monitor what events are being created. So I'm going to switch over to the events and subpages menu under our calendar page. So this is where you will end up spending most of your time and have most of your information if your chapter is managing events in NationBuilder. So by default, NationBuilder won't display any events that are already passed. So if the date has already passed, they're still in your nation. But when you initially click over, it will only show upcoming events. So this is for my chapter. You'll see we have one event coming up, a professional development event on October 25th, and then a November networking mixer. So all of your upcoming events will be listed here, and you can select them at any time to go in and edit. I'm just going to switch over to the actual live page, so you can see what the general calendar looks like when someone clicks over. So depending on your theme, and NationBuilder really displays everything in a pretty similar way. You can see we have the title of our page for my chapter's upcoming events. We have our intro message here. So anyone who comes is going to see that. And then below, whatever upcoming events you have, NationBuilder will pretty much display a blurb with the title. If you've set a date and location, it will have that displayed as well. NationBuilder does do kind of an auto connect with Google Maps. So if you have a specific address typed in and someone clicks on the location, it will open that in Google Maps so they can get directions or spot where that is pretty easily. And then if you have ticket prices set for your event, it will display actually the lowest amount for the tickets. And then if somebody does want to read more, it displays a blurb. And then if they want to show all the details and they click on that, they can actually see the full description of the event directly on the calendar page without clicking over to the specific page for the event. So the default is it'll just display a blurb, but honestly, your members or anyone who visits can see all the details for an event just from the general calendar screen. So I'm going to click over to a specific event just to go over some of the features and settings that are available for your chapter when you decide to create a new event. So if you first create a calendar page, this will be blank. And so you'll end up clicking on new event. And when you do that, the first thing NationBuilder is going to ask you is just a name for your event. And again, a slug, which really is just the web address that it's going to be at. It's going to be your general web address, and then whatever additional information that you want to put. Usually it's something short. So it could be, October mixer, November mixer, and NationBuilder is going to go ahead and create that page. So just for purposes of using an example, I'm going to click over to the settings for our upcoming October professional development workshop for YNPN New Jersey. and go through some of the menu options. So again, these were the two items that I would have entered on the previous page. So the name was just October Professional Development Workshop. NationBuilder by default will pretty much make the slug or the web address the same thing that you name the title. You do have the ability to customize that if you do need to. You might have a need to do that if you want to think up of something catchy for promotional reasons. You're free to come up with your own custom links. Any events that you create will generally be automatically marked as a subpage of whatever your events calendar is called. The status, so whether it's visible on NationBuilder, if you create an event and you're still doing things behind the scenes and you don't want it to be visible to anyone, by default, this won't be published. When you initially create an event, it will be unlisted. And then when you're ready for it to be visible, kind of everything set up, you have the tickets all priced out, you've tested everything, you can switch it to published, or you could keep it hidden if you know want to continue to do work without it being visible on the site to everyone. Again, because this is kind of included in our calendar, we don't have it marked off as being in the top menu or on the sidebar. And because of this particular event, we have the settings set so that anyone can view the page. A little bit later, I'll go over some options. I know a lot of chapters have asked about creating or how to deal with a situation where you might have an event that's free for members and that you want to sell tickets for other people. So I'll go over some ways you can do that in NationBuilder. And if you did want it to be a members only event or only be visible to members, again, you could just change this setting for who this page is visible to members, so that anyone else who tries to click over to this page would get a message asking them to sign in, and where you could have a message that they aren't currently a member. And if you want to be strategic, you can include a message to redirect them to your membership page so they can sign on and become a member. So some of these other settings that might be interesting to chapters from a marketing standpoint, you can choose to have a featured content slider. So I'll open up that window. You may have to look up the NationBuilder theme information for your particular theme, but just think of the featured slider as like what you see on a lot of websites, a giant photo that's going to be featured very prominently at the top. So if you do have a custom graphic or a great photo that you want to feature, you can label that here and upload the photo. A lot of times, you know, you may have to do some minor adjustments with the dimensions, but it can be a good way to catch people's attention if you have something that's really going to stand out. The other thing that, especially if your chapter is very active on social media, the settings include a social media option. And I'll just open that up really quickly. And what that is anytime that you are sharing a link on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, a lot of other social media networks, when you paste in a link, it pulls kind of a default description of the event. So you can customize that here in case you have like a specific blurb or something that you want to be filled in automatically when someone tries to share this link directly on social media. So you can enter that text here. NationBuilder includes a link to your page automatically. So if you did want a custom Twitter, Facebook blurb for a particular event that you're hosting, so for anyone who tries to share it on social media, that goes in automatically. You can update that here and then save the social media setting so that whenever anyone pastes the link for your event in, this is what automatically pops up on social media. So before I jump into event settings, does anyone have any questions so far?
Nope.
All right. So the event settings menu for any event that you create is where you're going to do the majority of the work in entering all the information for your event. So the basics are pretty straightforward. You can write in the location or the venue where it's going to be held, the date and time when it's going to start, your time zone, how long it's going to be, maximum capacity, which really only matters if you are kind of limited in space or you want to have a bit more of an exclusive event. You have some space limitations. You can set how many people NationBuilder can accept before it will cut people off if they try and RSVP or buy a ticket. And then if you have a specific contact person or committee and email address, you can include that here. The more complicated ones and the ones that we'll go through in more detail are on the right side. So if you do want to sell tickets for your event through NationBuilder, you will need to click this option to sell tickets. And you'll see right below that, what NationBuilder will ask you is when someone's on your event page and they click through to buy a ticket, what page do they get redirected to? So I'm going to go back over to the new page menu for a second. And rather than having a calendar page for your tickets, you can elect to create a donation page where you can get payments for a specific event. And I'll go through a little bit more about how to do that. But in your menu, if you are selling tickets, you would be able to pull this drop-down menu. NationBuilder automatically looks for any donation pages you set up because those are the only pages on NationBuilder that can kind of accept credit card payments or process payments. So you can name it kind of whatever you would want, but you would have to set up a donation page separately if you are buying or going to be selling tickets for people who are attending your event. And then another feature that I'll go over in a second is a donation tracking code. So you can sell tickets, but NationBuilder also allows you to assign a donation tracking code. It's a pretty useful feature. It's actually also located under the finances menu in NationBuilder. So just think of your tracking code as kind of a financial tag that tracks all of the purchases related to a particular event or a fundraising campaign that you have set up. So you'll see for this particular event, we have people set up to be redirected to an event ticket purchase and registration page. And I'll show you what that looks like. And then we also have a donation tracking code, which our chapter just started using earlier this year. But it's pretty useful for our membership and professional development committees because they can look back at the codes for particular events and see exactly how many tickets were sold or the total amount that we got in registration fees. So if your board has a need to look back at the year pretty quickly and figure out what events did we hold that were pretty successful, that we did really well in terms of getting a lot of people or having a lot of people pay registration fees, these tracking codes can be pretty useful. And then the other options underneath this, so you can click whether you want to accept RSVPs. You can click whether you want that information to be visible to other people who will go to the event site. And mostly for free events, or if you did have a ticketed event and you wanted people to be able to bring a guest, you can check off to allow people to RSVP and add guests without having to buy additional tickets. So that covers the basics page. I'm going to click over to the advanced event settings, which are actually, ironically, a lot simpler than the basic settings. The advanced settings really have to do with setting tags for people who RSVP and then attend your event. So if you did want to track people who came to a specific type of event or tag them so that your board could do follow-up, you can enter in whatever tag you'd like to create or use here, so that if you need to do a search later, you can find out exactly who these people are, and track them down. So you'll see that for attendees, my chapter has chosen to tag everyone who attends one of our professional development events for 2017 with a certain tag. And then this is also a little bit more advanced, but there's a feature in NationBuilder called paths, that you can use to kind of manage flows with people. So we've set up a path for event follow-up. So anyone who actually gets marked as an attendee gets tagged with this specific tag, and then they get added to this path, so that someone on our board can go through and do event follow-up. And all that really is outreach afterwards, making sure they get a thank you email with you know, a recap of the event, thanking them for coming out, and maybe a link to some future events that we have. We'll actually be discussing paths a little bit more on the next NationBuilder Program Exchange. But if you can get all of your board members actively using NationBuilder, it can be a pretty good way to manage your workflow and make sure that you kind of follow up with everyone who you need to on certain things.
Quick question, Jeff.
Yep.
So how is adding a path for something like event follow-up different than just tagging them with something over on the underneath like RSVPs or something like that? Is that just a tag for only attendees?
So that is a tag that will get added to attendees, and I'm gonna jump really quickly over to the people's menu just to point out, I think, the paths piece. So maybe I can find someone who's been tagged pretty recently. Okay, so here's a good example of the difference. So this is someone who kind of signed up as a member recently for us. If she attended our next professional development event, she would be marked with kind of the tag. So for professional development 2017 would appear here for her profile. The path, and actually I will open up her profile. What the path looks like is, if I add her to the event follow-up path, and I'm just going to assign that path to me so you can see what that will look like. So the path is almost like steps in a follow-up process. So if she just had the tag, she would be tagged as like professional development attendee. Your path, you can kind of map out steps. So the first step would be send her a follow-up thank you email. You can see underneath there's like a timer on it. So, you know, in a week, you can set that to whatever you want. And then, you know, if I'm the person who's responsible for, you know, taking care of this, and you can have one person take care of a complete path, you can have different people responsible for different steps. So let's say I send her that thank you email. I can kind of click on the next step in the path. It will advance her along. And then, you know, the next step is to send her another follow-up info email with maybe some more general information about YNPN, New Jersey, or upcoming events. So the path is kind of like actual actions that you have to take, and the tag is more along the lines of, if I needed to look up all these people, I could look them up using, you know, the tag and kind of the search feature of people's menu. So paths can be a little bit tricky to manage, and I think they take, you know, some time to set up and to make sure that, you know, they're kind of manageable in what you're asking people to do. I'm just gonna go ahead and delete this path for her. But they'll always appear on someone's profile as kind of like next steps that you need to take. So anyone who has kind of a path that's actively on their account. You can see it in their profile when you're in this menu, or if you are using the paths tool, and you pick event follow-up, or you use the filter tool, you can like isolate everyone who's on a certain path. So if you needed to just figure out everyone who you still have to follow up with, paths can be a pretty useful feature for that. And they're actually pretty new in NationBuilder. So we're going to be doing some additional training for chapters on that.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
No problem. And just going to jump back over to.
Hey, Jeff, question.
Yep.
I just saw that I was in the database. Is that because I tweeted at you guys last week, or is that because I like just went on the website?
It is. So NationBuilder is very, very like all encompassing when it comes to grabbing people who they call prospects. So actually, let me see. Probably. Yes. So if you like a tweet, retweet at us, kind of like a Facebook post, NationBuilder will pull you in as kind of a profile with the information that it can get. I'm guessing if you interacted with us through Twitter, it probably pulled your Twitter information. So I know when I've been working with other chapters, I follow a lot of them on social media and interact with them. So I'm in like every database as a prospect. But yeah, NationBuilder kind of pulls in as much information as it can, at least for this dashboard. You know, it won't mark people as kind of members, but like I recognize some of these names that are here marked as prospects of people who probably have liked a Facebook post for us in the last week or two. So it does capture a lot of people that you need to filter through.
That's really interesting. Kind of creepy, but cool. So we get a lot of traction. So is there a way to filter out the prospects, or I could imagine it being just like a huge thing to sort through?
So
or like if it's like they don't interact with us again for a long time, can you like, I don't know, is there an expiration date or something?
usually what I suggest that people do is for anyone that they are kind of interested in looking up on a regular basis, because this does become a lot to look through, and it picks up a lot of activity. If you know particular groups or people that you're going to be looking up on a regular basis, is to use the filter tool to create like a series of filters. I know the people we look up most often are people who've attended events. So they're tagged with a certain, set of tags for our chapter or our members. So if you know that you're going to be looking up like a certain group of people or people who have a certain history of interacting with you in different ways, the filter tool, you can kind of pick from a lot of different criteria. So, a pretty common one is under support level. You can find people who have a certain membership status, or who, rather than just being prospects, are what NationBuilder calls as supporters. So they've done certain things like RSVP'd for an event or made a donation or bought a ticket. And once you create these filters, you can actually go through and it'll pull a list of everyone that's a lot smaller than kind of the entire number of people who've kind of interacted with your site. And you can save those filters so you can run them over and over again. So it's kind of an extra step, but it is a good way to kind of save searches that you're going to do over and over again. So, if I wanted to save this filter as YNPN NJ supporters or YNPN NJ like current members, every time you run the filter, it will look for everyone who meets that set of criteria. And that way you can kind of narrow it down pretty quickly.
Cool, thanks.
But yeah, it does throw you off when you realize how much information it pulls in. And again, I think that's kind of by default because NationBuilder is used on a lot of political campaigns. So they're trying to like sweep for everyone who might interact with the campaign. But you can use filtering to kind of like clean that up a little bit. So I'm going to jump back to the other piece for setting up events. So under the intro menu, you can put a headline for your event. This is where you'll probably write in the event description. So, you know, maybe a blurb about the networking mixer, any photos. This would be a good place to put like more details about the venue or what will be going on at the event. So we just have a short write-up here about our upcoming professional development event. And then the final thing that I have at the bottom is just some advanced information about ticket purchasing. So all of this will be what people see when they actually click over to the event page. And I'll actually show you what that looks like on the actual site. So we have our headline. So our October Professional Development Panel, Giving Tuesday, Donor Appreciation Stewardship. We have a short blurb about the event. We're actually working on getting some bio information and headshots from our presenters to feature on this page as well. And then here, just some advanced information about ticket pricing. And then at the very bottom, and I'll go over this setup in a second, we have kind of the ticket information and actual ticket order information for anyone who wants to purchase a ticket to the event. So if I click back over to the settings, you'll see there's an option for tickets. And it's pretty self-explanatory. Once you've clicked off that you are going to be selling tickets, when you first come to this page, it'll be blank. So for each ticket level or type that you want to create, you'll just enter a name, a short description, the amount, and then the number of tickets this purchases. So if you did want to do a package deal or a group discount for an event, you could have a certain ticket level be used to purchase a pair of tickets or 4 tickets. We tried that out with a couple of events that we had earlier this year that seemed like it would work well for. So we did kind of a paint and sip event at a local museum. And we thought it would be fun if people could bring a friend. So we sold pairs of tickets and had a couple people take advantage of that. But once you've created all of the ticket levels here and save them, NationBuilder will kind of automatically populate them on your event page at the bottom. And it'll have the price, your ticket title, and then whatever description you wrote for each ticket type there for anyone who wants to come onto the page and buy a ticket for the event. So just to connect this with the earlier menu, so this is the information for your ticket pricing. Again, on the basics menu, once you've set up that ticket pricing, you need to tell NationBuilder what page it's sending people to buy tickets. So, you know, if they enter here that they want to buy 2 non-member tickets and hit purchase ticket, this needs to send them to a page where they can actually do that. So in our menu, we have them going to an event ticket purchase and registration page. We have multiple ones set up just because at some points we have more than one event that we're selling tickets to. And if I hit purchase tickets and I tell it that I want to buy 2 non-member tickets, it's going to send me to a donation page that we've set up. So on our donation page, we just have a short message thanking them for registering for the workshop. And then on the left side, it's going to give them information about their order and allow them to click through and complete their payment. So for that page, this is the settings, and this is just a donation page. So we created a donation page called Event Ticket Purchase and Registration. And then in that page, under the donation settings, we put the actual ticket amounts that we entered for the event. So $10, $15, and $27.50. NationBuilder kind of should recognize your payment processor if you have one set up to accept membership payments. And then we have the tracking code so that NationBuilder tracks all of the tickets or registration fees that are purchased for this particular event. You have a couple options after people complete their donation. So you can redirect them to a certain page on your website. I know for some things we've set up individual thank you pages. I know we have that for our membership payments, but for this one, we just have them going back to the page with the event description. So if I click through, my information's already in the system, so it has me signed in, but it will then eventually direct me to PayPal to complete the payment. And once they do that, they'll get an auto email from NationBuilder confirming that they are RSVP'd for the event and that they've purchased tickets. And then they will also show up under your RSVP list for that particular event. One thing to make sure that you update and try and personalize a little bit is for all of your events, whether you're selling tickets or not, most NationBuilder pages have auto response emails that go out. So you definitely want to take a look at that and at least try and add in some personalized information about your event. Change the subject. You can customize what email address it comes from, just so your ticket buyers or people who are RSVPing for an event get a little bit of a personalized message from you. So the last, yes, question.
I have a question. I don't know if someone else also did. So after you choose what type of a ticket you want, so member versus non-member, and it takes you to this page, right?
Yes.
Is there a way to personalize this page so then if you are a non-member and then checking out, we can have like a different text, or is this a same page for everyone, no matter what type of a constituent you are?
So you can customize this page.
Okay.
And as I'm looking at it, I see something that I need to update that I left from our other event. This is not a beer tasting development panel. But this text on the right is actually personalized. So from the donation page settings, there is an option to do an intro, and that looks like the content window for a lot of other pages.
Okay. And so then are you allowed, what happens if a member tries to buy a ticket for herself or himself and then another one for his friend who might not be a member? Is that possible?
That is possible. We haven't run into that situation too much generally. So one thing that they are able to do, and I'll just pull back up the October event details, is most people that we've had come out to our events have been pretty honest. So if they know, like, hey, I'm a member and I want to bring out a friend or invite someone or bring a guest who's a non-member, they can either have them register separately, or they can choose to buy one member ticket and one non-member ticket. So if they enter 1 and 1 and hit purchase, it should take them to the donation screen, and NationBuilder will automatically recognize, and it gives them a summary here. So it has listed one member ticket and one non-member ticket. I guess there could be situations where people were like buying 4 member tickets. It hasn't really happened with us. Usually we try and kind of add in the ticket pricing details above. And then as we enter in the information for this thank you page here, we try and like put a little note both on the event page and on this thank you page to encourage people to look at the membership page or go back if they feel like they can get a discount for, you know, just signing up to be a member and have access to lower ticket prices for pretty much all of our events.
Okay. And then one more question.
Yep.
So whenever they buy more than one ticket, is there, so after the screen, it goes straight to PayPal, or where does it go?
So I will click through. So it'll verify kind of, you know, the amount of each ticket they've purchased. This is auto-filling my information because I'm logged in, but they would just enter in kind of their billing information here, unless they already have a profile. And then, you know, they have an option to either publish or not publish their donation on the website.
Mm-hmm.
And if they hit continue to PayPal, it will redirect them to PayPal.
Okay, so I guess, is there a place that they could add the name of their guest that they're buying a ticket for?
So that's the tricky part. The guest shows up as a +1
Okay.
for purposes of kind of how it's tracked in NationBuilder. So and I'll jump over to this screen. So for this screen, which is the RSVP screen, the person who buys the tickets will be listed here. And then their number of guests and or tickets will be listed next to them. So I know in the past we've had a couple people who had +1s, and we just assumed that, like, we had a list of all the people who'd purchased tickets at the door, and we checked people off, and we knew how many guests they had at the event. And so we just checked people as they came and had them kind of sign in at the event.
There's no, like, I guess, is the sign-up form customizable at all? Like, could we just put like a little box in there that says like guest name or something? I'm just thinking because for our bigger events that we have during the holidays, or for our celebration event where we have like, I don't know, 150 to 200 people, there are a lot of instances where they're bringing guests and we're checking people in.
Yep.
I can see how that's going to be a little bit chaotic if we have to, or like we're assuming things or whatnot, you know what I mean?
No, I definitely got that. And then, so in an ideal world, being able to add in like a box on the sign up form and have it populate here would be ideal for you guys, right?
Yeah. Do you know if like NationBuilder would kind of do that for YNPN at all?
I think that on a network basis, that's something that everyone could pretty much get behind. So I'm gonna jot that down as a request. And part of that might be, I'm almost certain that you could probably do it by adjusting some code. And similar to other things that we're working on, so like the member directory,
Yeah.
or, you know, job posting projects, the code's pretty standard across the board. So I'll definitely add that in as something, and something tells me that wouldn't be too complicated to figure out the coding for. And then once we have the coding, we could just kind of share that with everyone, but I know, like, even thinking of my chapter and a lot of other chapters, that would be ideal.
Yeah, that would be great.
All right, awesome. Thank you for that question. And I'll definitely make sure I update everyone on that.
So kind of related to that, the check-in process, is there like a way to automatically check people in at the event? Like if you had an iPad like Eventbrite does, or because it has the RSVPs and attendees, so how does it know who attended?
So if you do have a laptop or tablet, you can do a check-in. So there is no one here, but let me do another event that will show you what that looks like. The short answer is yes, you can. So
Yay.
let me pull up a past event. Yeah, and I love that feature in Eventbrite, so I was glad to see that it is available. So I'll pick our career panel. So RSVPs. Yes. Okay, so everyone's been moved over on this one, but this is one of our previous events. So you can log into your NationBuilder backend, and it will have a list of everyone who has RSVP'd for an event but has not yet been marked as an attendee. So as folks show up, kind of all these names would be on the other side under RSVP. They have a little checkbox next to them. So as people are showing up, you kind of check them off. When you hit update attendee, they get shifted over. So at the end of the day, this happened to be an event that kind of everyone who RSVP'd came out. But in case someone did RSVP or buy a ticket and didn't show up, they would still be on this side, but as you update them as kind of actually being at the event or checking in, they get shifted over from the RSVP list to the attendee list. Kind of similar to the check-in feature in Eventbrite.
But it's back end, so you couldn't like have it on an iPad like you can do for Eventbrite.
So you have to literally log into your NationBuilder account. Yeah, it's not, and I'll add that in as kind of like the limitation of NationBuilder. In my opinion, it would probably work best for smaller events. I think, like, I know some chapters probably have pretty big annual events or like award ceremonies where you might need some of the features that Eventbrite has. So stuff like seating charts, something like, you know, probably an app that you could run on your mobile phone and or tablet. So for those types of events, my suggestion would kind of be to lean towards maybe Eventbrite or something a little bit more specialized. For selling kind of tickets or RSVPs for like a mixer event or something casual, I think especially where, you know, you may not need to sell tickets. So more informal events or events that are a little bit smaller, NationBuilder actually works pretty well. And then one of the reasons why we started hosting more of our events or most of our events on NationBuilder instead of going through Eventbrite was we were getting hit with additional fees from a financial point of view. So we were paying like PayPal processing fees and the Eventbrite fee. And so we weren't running really complex stuff through Eventbrite. So it kind of made sense for us to switch over. But, you know, I think if you were doing, you know, something a little bit more complex where you needed seating charts or like a really robust app, you know, I might advise chapters do some of your smaller events on NationBuilder. And then if you have kind of like a really large signature event, you know, that you really need everything to be tightly managed for and some extra features, you know, a specific platform that's like dedicated to event management, like Eventbrite might be the better choice for that.
Okay. Yeah, it's not pretty, but it's good. It's much better than what we have now. So I feel like we could do a workaround too because you can export the list, right?
You can.
So, but yeah, I think we can work with this. This is good.
And so, we'll definitely take into advisement the suggestion for being able to add in the guest name and have that in the RSVP list. When we share this recording, or you have conversations with your other board members, I'll probably send a message out to the listserv as well. If people have additional features, things that your chapter does for event setup or event management that you either want to know how to do in NationBuilder, or features that you would like to see, or might have a question of whether you can do that, we can do follow-up. So if people think of anything or anything additional pops up, everyone can definitely feel free to email us, so we can either talk to NationBuilder about trying to figure out how to get that done for the network, or there may be kind of features already in NationBuilder that we can point out for folks and do some additional training and demonstrations on, so that everybody's aware of everything.
Jeff, I have 2 questions.
Yep.
The first is just for clarification. I saw that there's the member and the non-member sign up. There's no way to like create a special code for members, that way they get a discount, and non-members don't have access to that code?
So the tricky part, and I'm gonna like bang my head against the desk because it took me so long to figure this out in NationBuilder. So they don't have the ability to have a discount code. Kind of, I know for like NationBuilder and some other services, kind of like you can have a promo code. That's something that we will definitely ask them about, because I feel like that would be the ideal world. But I don't know how long it will take them to work that into their code. What I've been telling chapters is kind of like the easiest workaround that I've seen for that. So is one of 2 things. I know we've done like early bird specials, so telling people we will have this ticket kind of level available until a certain date, and then we go in and remove it. The other option that can work well is if you have your entire event kind of set up, so the description, everything else, and you want to create a separate page for maybe your non-members or to offer to people exclusively. I don't know why I didn't see this option forever in NationBuilder, but after you have everything set up, there is an option to kind of clone a page. So you can copy all the information for an event, and literally all you really have to do is then, let me see, what's that option? Oops, I'm on the wrong one. So that's not gonna let me update. So if you clone the event and have a second kind of event page available, you can switch the permission for that to be members only. It's not, I think, as ideal as having a promo code, because then you do need to kind of have a second link available, and kind of manage that RSVP page as well. But that, or having like the time limit available. I know what we've done in some cases for our members is you can also have a page that's created for an event, and we will usually list it in the top right. There's an option for status. If you have it as unlisted, it won't show up on your website for people who are looking for it, but it is still like accessible. So we've sent out like e-blasts or emails to just our members who are paid members, to give them like advance opportunity to purchase a ticket at a discounted rate. So something like a pre-sale for like a concert or an event. So we'll tell them, for the next 10 days before this opens up to everyone, like you can get, a 25% discount for registering for this event. So that's one possibility. But we will work on kind of the promo code, and I'll add that into my list of things to ask. I know I've seen NationBuilder support threads asking about that as a feature that a lot of people requested. I'll just have to do a double check and see what the status is on updating that. But if it would be useful, I can create a separate kind of short video going over a couple of the things that I mentioned for specific events. So maybe something like a member's options to either have discounted or special options available for your members on NationBuilder.
Yes, that would be really helpful.
Thank you. And then my second question is kind of going back to an earlier topic on either path or when you assign someone to an event or member or sign up and you tag that person and that person gets an email about, when they get an RSVP or anything, how do that person, when they log into NationBuilder, where are they going to see that information without necessarily going to that individual's page?
So what you can do is, let's see, I think it's settings. So typically when you are a point person, what ends up happening, and I'm going to look at my notifications. Okay, so for their account, so if you have a board member who's like an admin in NationBuilder, or there's someone who has access to the back end, under their settings and their account, there's an option for email notifications. And so typically the default is in NationBuilder, if something is assigned to you, you will get kind of an email notifying you that, this person has signed up for an event and you are the point person for this particular individual. I think the other kind of easier way, because it's right where NationBuilder kind of logs you in, when you're setting up paths, so I'll pull down the list that we have for my chapter. So the only one that we've actually been using, some of these are ones that we're still setting up, is the event follow-up. But if you pick that path and you know that you're responsible for certain tasks there, generally everything that is assigned to that path will be visible. And whoever, and let me see if I can open up the event follow-up details. So whoever's responsible for a particular step, when you look at that path and you've selected it in the people's menu, whoever is responsible for the next step in that path, their face will be visible. Or if you hover over, you can see who's supposed to handle that next step. So I think with like the paths, it makes sense to try and have committees who might be responsible for certain things, whether it is like marketing or recruitment or, membership, figure out who's going to be assigned to each path. And then if you have kind of a point person for that committee, to have that person establish some type of like regular check-in or go in every so often to kind of check on the paths and make sure that, things are moving forward. I think that the tough part with using paths is if that's going to be kind of the way you manage things, then everyone on your board would have to log into NationBuilder pretty regularly and check their paths. So I think like that's what my chapter is trying to work through now, is figuring out like who would get assigned to what and then making sure that like everyone on our board would go into NationBuilder, you know, once, probably every couple of days, at least once a week, to check their paths and whatever they were assigned and make sure that they followed up on things. So we're still trying to figure it out as far as like managing processes, but it would be nice to have it all in one place. It just takes a little bit of work. And so that's actually going to be what we cover on our last program exchange of the year, is like talking through paths and goals and what that might look like for different chapters.
Okay. So say for an event, if the program chair is assigned to all of the RSVPs that come in, there's no like inbox that she goes to that say, these are all your notifications for NationBuilder.
Not as of this point,
Okay.
or not that I'm aware of, but I can check on that. Because passing goals were literally like, I think something that popped up one day. They're about a year old in NationBuilder. So we're still trying to get like somewhat up to speed on them. But I will actually check and see, you know, if there is kind of like a control panel, or something that can be set up where someone could log in and, you know, maybe see these are all of the items that you're responsible for, or all of the like notifications that have come in for you.
Thank you.
Yep. All right. So thank you guys for, I think, the input and the questions. We're going to be sharing this recording with everyone. So if anything else pops up, you know, after you've thought about the presentation, definitely feel free to email us any additional suggestions. And I'll definitely be circling back after I reach out to the NationBuilder support team with some of the requests that you guys had for event management in the paths and notification, and give you an update on that. So thank you guys for joining. I'll open it up to see if there's any final questions. I don't see any in the chat box. So I think we're good. But as you guys continue working on events, you know, feel free to reach out individually if there's a feature you have questions about, or it's just something that you run into technical issues with.
Thank you.
All right, thank you guys. Have a good night, and we'll be in touch soon.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Bye.
All right, night
Bye.
everyone.
Sounds good.